So today we will look into constructor, and then we will go to inheritance. So first thing is that uh, though general structure is to go through the constructors in the preliminary classes, I have changed this because we are not using this that much. So let's go through it now. Because in other languages the memory allocation and other things we need to understand. Here it is completely taken care by Salesforce. So what is a constructor? A constructor is code that is invoked when an object is created, okay, from the class blueprint. What is class? Class is a blueprint, as you know. You do not need to write a constructor for every class, mind this, because Apex will provide you the default constructor. If a constructor does not have a user defined constructor, a default no argument public constructor is used. Okay. Ideally, all your constructors should be public. Only thing is that if we are not writing any constructor, then at the background, by default, Salesforce is giving you one constructor where there is no argument present, and that is a public constructor. So every time when we write, say this is my class name space object name equals to new class name. What is this new class name? After new is a keyword by which you can identify or mention that you are calling a constructor. Okay. So you can define one object and then you can or cannot put this part. So do one thing in your org, just define one class, put two variables, okay? Put two variables within that class and create one object of that class without this new test object and with this new test object, like with the constructor and without the constructor. So, and then print, say obj1 and then semicolon, then test object obj2 equals to new test object bracket open close. Now print those two, object 1 and object 2. You will see the difference. This printing thing, whatever I am saying, that you can put in the uh, uh, anonymous window. Just define one class, or if you already have those classes, whatever classes you have, just look into any class where you have defined two variables, and then from the anonymous window put that like create one object without using the constructor, another object with using the constructor, and print those two objects. Okay, let's do this first. Then we will come to this. What is the utility of this? And then we will go through constructor overloading as well. Do this and let me know what is the output.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Suraj.
Sir, actually, I got from day one session video to till now, but I'm
I
not
got your point. No issue. You wait. somebody can share the screen once that is completed, and then you can look into the output.
Okay, but
That's what you were saying. Mhm.
yeah, I'm not understand from day first to now session
Okay,
because
let's
all
have a discussion along with Shobhanjit. Okay.
yes.
Hmm, hmm. Done, guys. Umshita, please share your screen. Let's see. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Umshita, are you there? Come on, please share your screen. Let's see.
Okay.
Execute this and let's see what is the output, or you have already executed.
Yes, sir.
So let's see the debug. Look at these two values. In first situation, what happened? Uh, just open the execute anonymous. Now look into this. In the first scenario, what has happened? In line 2, when I have put the debug of obj1, it is putting the value a equals to 1, b equals to 2. Why? Because there is some memory allocation. The object has physically created and the memory is allocated. Okay.
Yes.
Scenario 2, physical object is not specified. The initialization of the object is not done. That is why that is coming as null. Is this clear to everybody? Why these two things we are seeing here? First one, the physical object assignment or the initialization of the object is done because I am using the default constructor. Second scenario, I am not using any constructor, so the initial assignment is not done. Ankita, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Shubhapon,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
clear to everybody, right? Now, this is the simple thing I just wanted to show you. Okay, so you can unshare your screen. Let me go through the remaining part. So what happened? Like you have created this. This is the way to define the constructor. So whenever we are using the constructor, it is initializing. Fine, it is initializing. Now these are mostly like the interview questions. Like in Apex, a constructor can be overloaded. What do we mean by overloading? Constructor overloading we will cover, then we will go to method overloading or function overloading. Okay. So what is constructor overloading? That is whenever we are writing, that is there can be more than one constructor for a class, each having different parameters. That means I can define multiple constructors. First thing is that how constructor is defined. Constructor name must be same as class name. Must be. Okay. There is no should. It is must. And then bracket open close. So it looks like a method or function, right? This signature looks like a function. Only thing is that there is no return type, because constructor will not return anything. It will only initialize the object. It will only initialize. It will not do anything else. Fine. Now, um, the thing is that it is saying that I can write multiple constructors in one class. How? Whenever I am writing multiple constructors, I need to be sure, that is, there are different number of input arguments. Here, no argument is present. Here, I have provided integer. When this kind of scenario is required, say I am defining one object and I just want two instances. One instance, I just want to initialize the variables. Say there are two integer variables within that class. I want both the variables to be 0. Okay. Start with 0. Whenever I have defined that object, the variables, whatever I have defined within that, I want them to start with a specific value, say 0 or 10 or 5, whatever it is, some specific value, nothing else. And I need another type of objects where these initial values of the member variables of that class needs to be defined when I am defining that object. Like when I am defining the object, at that time there are two integers. I want to assign the values of the variables, say 10 and 20, 5 and 50, anything. That means whoever is using the object, whoever is defining the object, at the time of defining the object, I want to mention the values. Only that scenario I will provide the arguments, input arguments. And when I am doing that, at that time I can, for these two type of scenarios, I can write two different constructors. So constructors will be having same name with the class, and there will be different number of arguments. Fine, clear?
স্যার আমার না একটা কোশ্চেন আছে স্যার।
Yep.
বলছি কনসেপ্টটাকে আমাদের কি কাজে রিয়েল টাইম প্রজেক্টে লাগে জেনারেলি?
Whenever user defined constructor, like when you are defining the constructor, right? Because by default there is a constructor which system is providing you.
ওকে,
Beside that, whenever I want to initialize the variables of a class, at that time I should define the constructor. Say I have 5 or 10 variables I have defined within a class, and I want that those variables will be having specific values when I am defining that object.
Okay.
At that time I should be using constructor.
okay.
Fine.
Got it, sir.
Simple thing. Say you are calculating the price or cost of a flat. Okay. So there will be different type of
Value.
values or say costs involved. Like the when you are doing that, the final cost of a flat, how that comes? That comes with simple base unit price, and say then the annual maintenance charge or advance of the maintenance charge, advance of the amenity charges, this kind of things.
Okay.
So these kind of charges, whatever charges you are putting, those are fixed, right?
Correct.
So that you can just define within your class, and you can initialize the values with them, with the specific values. But on top of all these charges, there will be some GST calculation, right?
Okay.
Now, on base price, whatever you are putting for that GST is 12%. And say for amenities, it is 5%. So you don't know how much GST it will be. So that is not predefined. When you are defining the object, at that time you want user to provide specific values of GST. What will be the percentage of GST?
correct.
In that scenario, those will be coming as your input arguments. And where it is fixed, you can by default put the value. Clear?
Okay.
Clear.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, মানে জিএসটি পার্টটা একটু বুঝতে পারলাম না লাস্ট।
For GST, say there are different values of GST
কারেক্ট,
depending on different things. Like on top of base unit price, the GST will be 18%. On amenity charges, the GST will be 5%. On maintenance charges, it is 12%.
কারেক্ট,
Okay.
কারেক্ট।
Say, I am saying these are the values. Now, these values are not fixed. So,
ওকে,
at the time of calculation, say you are creating one class to calculate the total price of a flat. So,
ওকে,
your base prices, like the unit prices, the maintenance cost, and your these values will be fixed.
কারেক্ট।
But on top of that, what amount of GST you have to put on top of all this type of
দিস
costs?
ইজ নট ফিক্সড।
That is
কারেক্ট,
not fixed. So
কারেক্ট,
those will be dynamic, and user, when some user is calculating this, they need to put this GST. Say that is the scenario you have implemented. Then
কারেক্ট।
the like what is the percentage of GST for all these things they will be providing, and that will be coming as input argument for these constructors.
ওকে, ওকে,
Clear?
ক্লিয়ার স্যার।
Now look into this class. Here we have a default one, like default constructor. There is like not the default constructor. So without argument constructor, there I am just providing a specific value. This value means this is a specific keyword which refers to the current object context. Okay. So in current object context, I have only one integer. So this value will be assigned to this variable. And the other one, I am providing one input argument. So, and I am directly assigning that value. So that means when I am defining the object, at that time, whatever value I am providing, that will be copied into this variable. So here you can see, here new test object 2 within bracket 42, this one will call this second constructor, and this one will call the first constructor. Clear? How system will understand which constructor to call depending upon the input arguments. It will match the input arguments. Whatever input argument is matched, accordingly it will call. If I put something 42 comma 10, it will show me an error that this constructor is not defined, because it system will not be able to match any constructor whatever I have given here.
স্যার এখানে ডেসিমেলের স্টাইলে লেখা যাবে?
If you are providing decimal in that scenario, you will provide decimal. If it is a text or string, you will provide string.
কারেক্ট, বুঝে গেছি।
Clear? Now this is one of the example, like what you can do with, say you have a class leads, you have put no argument constructor, you have put one argument constructor, you have put two arguments constructor. Okay, but this one is illegal. This is
কেন কেন
legal.
স্যার?
Yeah, it is different. Look into this. String and boolean, what is the order? first it is string, then it is boolean, right?
Hmm.
Here,
Boolean
first
after string.
boolean is in the first place and then the string. So the exact signature is not matching. So I have to send here, say abc at the rate xyz.com and true. Here I have to put true, then xyz.com, abc at the rate xyz.com. So though the number of arguments are same, okay, but the ordering is different. That is why this is a legal one. But you cannot define two constructors with same arguments, same number or same type of arguments in same order. Here the order is different for these two. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So this way we can define constructors. If I am defining multiple constructor within a class, then it is called constructor overloading. Fine. And how it is called? The way you are putting the arguments when you are defining that object, at that time it will match these arguments and it will call the respective constructor.
Sir, is there any like governor limit for like
Number of
arguments?
arguments,
Correct.
number of arguments that you need to check. It is like you ideally will never hit that number of arguments because you cannot define that much.
Okay.
Sir, is there any like constructor is like private or public or anything?
Constructor should be public. Should be, I am saying. Why? If you are defining something as private, if you are defining one constructor as private, then you have to define the object within this class only. Otherwise, you cannot access that constructor.
Mm,
You are getting my point?
yes,
Because you are defining the object outside of this class. That is why your constructor should be public.
yes,
Clear?
yes.
So that is the reason. Now let's go to function overloading. Most probably I have gone through this previously, but I just want to just a minute. Let me search the proper article for this. So method overloading, how we are doing this constructor overloading, similar way we can do method overloading. But what I just wanted to mention is that there are multiple limitations of method overloading with respect to Java. Okay. So whoever has Shomrat, this is specifically for you. Okay. When we are and also Shumnadda, when we are overloading methods in Salesforce, like in Salesforce, how we are overloading constructor, same way, like in any language, we can do overloading of methods as well. Overloading of methods are simple things like I have different number of arguments, but the method name is same. But in Salesforce, there are specific scenarios where you cannot use method overloading. Okay. What are those scenarios? There is one concept is aura enabled. Aura enabled means after this thing, after this apex, you will go through another phase, that is, what is apex? Apex is the server side logic you are writing here at the back end, right? But your client side, that is the UI related design and UI related things, you will be uh, developing that in LWC primarily. There are three different things by which we can create the custom UI. Like say I need one UI, I need one screen where I need to create account, I need to provide the details of contact, I need to provide the details of opportunity. So this is not a very standard screen of Salesforce, right? So in Salesforce, if we have to do this, first we have to create the account, then I have to go to deleted list, and then I have to create the contact associated with that account. So in this way, we do that. But if I have to do this custom kind of screen, how we can do that? There are three things. One is Visual Force, VF. One is Aura. Aura is a framework, and the latest framework is LWC. Primarily, you will learn the LWC first, okay, because that is the latest one. But Aura is not that much used, but VF is still used in some cases, specific. So VF also you need to learn a bit. Sorry. Important thing is that whenever we have to use any Apex method with this UI, with this lightning UI, we have to make that aura enabled. So there are different types of methods, like how I can specify which method to be used where, or how I can mention that whether I can access this thing from any specific type of part, like say from LWC or aura. If I have to utilize any method, I have to make that or at the rate aura enabled. That is the annotation. So different types of annotations are there. Now, for different things, we cannot use method overloading.
স্যার একটু ইন্টারাপ্ট করছি, বলছি স্ক্রিন কিন্তু শেয়ার না।
No, I'm not sharing anything right now.
ওকে ওকে স্যার।
So the thing is that I will give you those specifications where we cannot use method overloading specifically. That's why in general we suggest don't use method overloading. Okay. So what is method overloading? That is, I am writing different methods with same name but with different arguments, input arguments. Remember, method overloading does not mean that return type is different. It is not dependent on return type. It is dependent on the number of arguments, that is the set of arguments you are passing for that method. But we generally suggest that don't use method overloading in Apex because there are so many places it is not properly supported. Okay, that is why now it is being it is not there in the Apex developer guide as well. So like if it is aura enabled, you cannot utilize method overloading. If it is SOAP or REST API you are writing, that is integration. So again, you don't need it. Fine. So that is why method overloading is not that much used in Apex, but we will be seeing that there are other things which we would be using. That is method overriding. I'll come to that. Let's not look into let's look into the inheritance.
আমার একটা প্রশ্ন ছিল, করব?
হুম, হুম, হুম।
বলছি
বলতো।
যে আমরা কনস্ট্রাক্টরে গেট সেট ইউজ করি না, গেট তারপর সেট।
It depends, setter getter, whether we should be using or not. Mostly, most of the time in Apex, setter getters are not that much required.
Okay, but in which situation we are using like the gate and set?
Ideally, setter and getter are, I have a specific private variable, okay, and I want to utilize that. That is, utilize those variables. In that scenario, public setter getter we can do. So ideally, what is setter and getter? Setter is when I am setting the value uh, of a variable, and getter is when I am getting the value, the way I can get the value.
Okay.
If you want, like, that is a little complex. Understanding of this thing is little complex. If you want, if you guys want to use setter getter and want to look into that, we can cover that uh, at the end of these sessions. Like, mostly when we are done, there will be one or two final classes for overall revision, overall things, and overall whatever we have learned. At that time we can just have we can just look into this. Primarily, setter getter are not that much required. Okay, that is why I am not going through that. Anyway, am I sharing my screen? No. Just a second. If you need to look into setter getter, I'm putting this, but it is not that much required right now. That is kind of advanced things which you can utilize later. Primarily, what you need right now is that look into how you can utilize the simpler base practices and then provide that, like, utilize those things. So setter getter I have already provided to you. You can look into that. So with the access specifier, you can just control the behavior. You can control other things. Mostly these things are not required in this scenario. But anyway, let's go through the inheritance first, and then I will just show you couple of What is happening? Why cannot share? Am I sharing my screen?
Not
No, no,
visible,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
What is happening? Why it is not getting shared? Is it coming now?
Yeah, now visible.
Yes.
Okay. So this one is the oriented programming. What are the oriented concepts? Object oriented concepts are inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, and abstraction. What is encapsulation? What is abstraction? Those are theoretical things mostly, but inheritance and polymorphism, you need to implement that well. This encapsulation and abstraction, you are already the things, physical things you have already covered. The conceptual thing is only required. Okay. Different. Let's not look into this. Let's look into directly inheritance. So, what is inheritance? Inheritance is, as we have already looked into that. I have bicycle, that is my base class. I am defining mountain bike, and that is a child class of bicycle. In that scenario, what will happen? Whatever I am defining here, it will be there. Along with whatever I have defined in my base class, that can also be accessed through this. Okay, that is important. First thing is that when we are directly inheriting, at that time we will be using extends. This keyword extends. There is another keyword that is implements. It is not here, but there is another keyword that is called implements, that we will cover later. First thing, what is extends? So when I am defining any class, this is my class definition. Whenever I am writing extends bicycle, that means this is becoming a child class and this is becoming the parent class. Clear? Now let's look into a specific example I just wanted to look into. This is segregator, not segregator. I have a simple basic class. Again, it is making virtual. Okay. So the parent class is made virtual. So that means you cannot
So
use.
virtual মানে স্যার
I'm coming to that. Where is the basic examples? Why I'm not getting that? Anyway, a class that extends another class inherits all the methods and properties of the extended class. This is my class. This is extending marker. This is yellow marker and it is extending marker. That means from this definition, all the methods and properties, all the methods and properties of marker should be coming to yellow marker, to the extended class. In addition to the extending class, can override the existing virtual methods. If you have virtual methods, you can override that by using the override keyword in the method definition. What is virtual? If I make a method virtual in my base class, I can extend, I can override that class. What is override? I just didn't want to go to overriding of the method right now. I just wanted to show you the example. Extended class example. Let's look into this. Oh, not required that much. There can be a very simple example. This is outer class. Oh, just a minute. Just give me a second. So the thing is that ideally, with sharing, without sharing, you know right now, I believe. Do you know what is with sharing and what is without sharing? Uh, I am giving you the logical understanding today. I will create some small examples how we can use this, like how it looks like. Without looking into the basic ones, there is no point to go into the deeper things. Okay. So ideally, whenever the basic fundamental thing is that in inheritance, first thing is that whenever I am inheriting something, some class from the base class, I can access the properties of my parent class from the extended class. So if this is my base class or parent class, my child class or the extended class can use the properties of my base class. Okay, that is the first thing. Now, second thing is polymorphism. What is polymorphism? Polymorphism is a concept which describes the process of performing a single action in different ways. In short, polymorphism means many forms. Okay. So what is that many forms? Is that I have defined one method in my base class. If it is virtual, if I am having if I am having a virtual method in my base class, I can rewrite the class body in my child class. Okay. Whatever I have written in my base class, I can rewrite the body in my child class. That is called polymorphism. And this thing, this functionality, how I am like writing the same method in my base class and child class, this is called method overloading. Okay, method overloading. Sorry, this is method overriding. So this method overriding, how that works, whenever you are writing the first method that is within your parent class, in your child class you can write same method with same arguments. Only thing is that the body will be new. Like whatever you will write here in the child class, that will be new. You can do this. The nitty gritties, how we can do that, what are the specific keywords we have to use. I will create one chart for that. This is not that much complex. Only like there are 2 3 keywords you have to remember. One is virtual, and virtual has its own way of handling it. If you have virtual method, then the class needs to be virtual. And if we are defining something without body, then that needs that in parent class. Then in child class, I have to define that body of that method. This kind of nitty gritties are there. So what I will do, I will go through, I will just create some simple um, class examples for you, where you can understand. If I am creating, if I am just creating simple methods, like I am creating simple functions, how I can utilize that. Though there is one example here, you can look into this. I have marker object, that is marker obj1 and obj2. Okay, so obj1, new marker. What is new marker? I don't want to get into this today uh, that much deeper, because it might confuse you. What is this new marker? Someone can tell me. Marker is my class name. Then I am defining one object, and this is new marker. What is this?
The instance of that class.
Instance object, sir.
This is instance object. This is the
The
constructor.
constructor.
Oh, sorry, concept.
So with that constructor, I have initialized object 1. Now in object 2, what I am doing? New and then yellow marker. I am putting the constructor or the reference of yellow marker within object 2. This is a concept you need to understand. Just give me a second. এক মিনিট দাঁড়াও। So the thing is that I am referencing in parent object or base object uh, to with the instance, or initializing it with the child object. So this is a complex, this is little complex to understand. So I will go through the basic ones first, and then I will come to this, like how you can utilize method overloading. Practically what happens, like in Apex, most of the time inheritance is not that much used. That's why you cannot get very good examples, code examples of inheritance in Apex, honestly. Like if you are working with different object oriented languages, there you need to understand all this concept, and you need to do this kind of coding a lot. But here it is very limited. In very limited scenario, you will see that you are going to use this. Mostly you will understand what is interface. Ideally there is type. This one you will be mostly referencing. Mostly in case of inheritance, you will be seeing interfaces. In interfaces, what we can do, we can just create one interface and we can define the function structure, whatever the structure is. Whenever I am actually writing the original class, and in that scenario, it would be implements, not extents. It is implements. At that time, you will be defining the body of the method. So these things probably giving you in a simpler format will help you. So I'm not going into that today. In next class, we will go through this. I will create some simple examples for you. But before that, wherever you have used your classes, go back, look into all the classes and try to understand and utilize this constructor. Constructor is one of the important thing whenever you are just defining any constructor, how that is working, what is the utility of constructor. If I don't use the constructor, what will happen? The object will be null, that is not initialized. The object is not at all initialized. Remember that. And whenever you are doing this, if you are creating multiple, if you are having multiple variables and you want to initialize that in multiple ways, like some of the objects will be initialized with standardized with some static data, static initial value, or if you want to put some dynamic values when you are actually creating the object, at that time how you can utilize your constructor, that is important. Okay. Another thing I just want to cover rather than going through this, that is securities in Apex. Let me share this with you. This one is more important when you are writing code. Enforcing sharing rules, right? Enforcing sharing means whoever has logged in, from which user context you are doing the work, at that time this thing, public with sharing, it will only fetch the records for that user if they have access to that record. If you put without sharing, that means all the records, like from system admin, whatever you can see, that will appear. Okay. So this is enforcing sharing rules. Whenever you are writing your code, be sure what you are doing. If there is specific requirement that I need to access all the records, then don't put with sharing. Then it would be without sharing. But if you are writing some code from UI, like say I want to look into all the accounts which I have access, at that time it would be with sharing, not without sharing. Okay. Enforcing object and field level permission. How we can do that? We can do this security enforced SOQL queries. Is updatable, is creatable. These is accessible means simple if they have read permission. Creatable means they have edit permission. Okay. Whenever you are doing this, whenever you are writing your code, you can enforce this. Say, I have 5 fields in account. I just want to check for that user, whoever is doing the operation right now, whether that person is having edit permission in email or not for contact object. Then I have to use this. I have to check this. By checking this, you can ensure and you can utilize. You can just make sure that whether you want to provide them that option to edit that field or not from your Apex. You can do that and utilize this one whenever you are writing code. Whenever you are writing code, understand the requirement properly. Okay. Look into this. When I am writing, uh, when I am writing the SOQL query within Apex, I have written the query within Apex with security enforced. This will give you this keyword. Use the with security enforced clause to enable field and object level security permission checking for SOQL select query in Apex. So whenever you are doing this, it will only pick up or check all the security aspects and then only it will fetch the values. Right? This is class security, that is with in which profile you are providing access to that class. That is your class security. There is another thing I just want to with user mode. You can run database operation in user mode rather than in the default system mode by using SOQL or SOSL. SOSL we haven't gone through. I believe you have looked into that previously. With the special keywords or by using DML methods overload. First thing is that whenever I am using with uh, user mode or with system mode, then you will fetch all the records depending upon the security. Okay, I have already provided this thing. You need to go through this. You need to go through this specifically. This is very important thing whenever you are writing code. Previously, when initially you have written the code, you haven't considered the best practices, you haven't considered the security aspects, because first thing was that you have to build your logic within Apex. That's what you were learning. Now you have learned all these things. Now we are moving to the advanced part. Okay, so probably in next 3-4 classes we will complete the whole thing. Okay, so now you need to understand the best practices. I have already asked you to go through the best practices. The governor limits. Governor limits are very much important. Look into the governor limits and look into the security aspects. Okay. There are so many things. Like if we want to go through all the aspects of Apex, probably it would be a 6 months session. I don't want to go that longer. First thing is that the base things you should be understanding. You should be able to write your code. You should be able to write your code according to the best practices. Now, the other nitty gritties or the advanced things, whatever are required that you can learn gradually when you are doing your work. But this one is very, very important. All these aspects. Okay. Enforce user mode, enforce security with this one also you can look into, not that much utilized. Come back next day with the questions. Another thing I just want to show you and warn you, that is uh, SOQL injection. What is SOQL injection? Whenever you are writing the code, don't write your code in this way. You are directly taking, say you are directly taking the name as input, okay, from user, and you are directly putting that value here. What is SOQL injection? I can write some malicious code in the text box. When the user is giving the input, that user can write some malicious code by which it can hack your or break your code, okay, by which you can break your code. Ideally, when you are having this kind of scenario, what you should be doing in your defense, what you should be doing, ideally you should be taking the things in one string, associate that string here rather than handling that directly. Okay, this is one of the way. Another way is that set arguments. I'll provide that example as well. So ideally, whenever you are trying to use any variable, don't use that variable directly. Utilize this syntax. Utilize this syntax so that it does not break your code. Nobody should be able to break your code in this way. Rather than utilizing or adding that within your string and then executing that query. There is another way to do that. That example I will provide you next day. Okay. It is already 10. Let's close it today. Next day, I will give you that, like how you can utilize with set parameter. Set parameter. So this one I will like how you can set parameters, that I will show you later. That is actually dynamic SOQL, and dynamic SOQL can have this kind of parameters. Also, there is another thing, that is user mode. So you can bind the variables, and you can just how you can bind the variables and how you can utilize that. So we will cover that in next class. I am just giving you the reference of this. And but beside this one, primarily what you need to do for before the next class is that go through the Apex security and sharing. Inheritance, mostly the high level ones you can look into. I will go through that. I thought that I will do that today, but with the other things it is already covered up. So I will create some simple example for you, and then we will go through that. But important thing is that the second link I have sent today, that is the Apex security and sharing. Go through that very well, memorize that, because this is one of the important thing when you are writing code. The best practices are derived from this. Okay. Any question? Okay. So if we do not have any question, then we can close today's class, and let's regroup next week, and probably next 2 3 classes we will complete the overall session.
Anta, can you please stay 2 minutes? I just want to discuss something.
Okay. Okay. Let me stop the recording.